if there are points of grief, I feel like you can only interpret another person's grief to the level at which you've experienced it.
Welcome to No More Strangers. My name is JT Erickson, and on this podcast, I attempt to get to know the people that I meet in my daily life, indulge in discussion of our shared interests, and attempt to better understand them, people more broadly, and slowly chip away at a more complete understanding of what makes us all human. Today, I'm speaking with my friend Stephen Parker. I met Stephen 2 years ago in a corporate Slack channel devoted to an appreciation for metal, but have only gotten to actually know him as a person in the past few weeks. Today, I'm hoping to get to know him better, and hopefully so will you, leaving you with one less stranger in your life. Dude, thank you for the coffee.
Yeah, of course.
I made the mistake this morning of using whatever ground coffee beans were at the Airbnb.
Oh,
it's like a risky click.
It is very much like a risky thing.
Super
just like,
risky.
Or like sometimes you show up and it's just instant. You're like, man.
I lived that life. And you could always go to a
definitely.
store. You could always go to the store and resolve that yourself. But at 5 a.m. in Portland, nothing's open for 2 hours.
Oh yeah, easy.
Even at coffee
on
shops.
Especially on a weekend. On a weekend. But no, I don't know any coffee shop open before 7 a.m. in Portland.
Wild. I don't get that.
Yeah, I don't
Like,
either.
do y'all like just sleep in?
I don't know.
Yeah, you're far enough. You're in Milwaukee here, right?
Yeah. We're like just over the line, which is fucking sick because we save like legit like 50% on property taxes, you know, because Portland's really expensive property tax. So it's like when we found this place, we're like, oh, it's like the Portland line is not that far from here. It's like less than a mile away.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, oh shit. Like I can put Portland as my address and it still delivers.
Yeah, I
fine.
noticed. And
Yeah.
the downside is like this is not a very walkable area.
No. It's very unwalkable, which is weird because our house in Eugene was very walkable.
Yeah.
Like it was very central to everything.
See that?
Yeah, so it's like, it's an upside and a downside, but we both drive everywhere, so who cares?
Yeah. Well, and that's what's been really nice for me being here. Like where I live in Austin, there's no walkability. At least where I am.
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
downtown, but
Yeah.
you're in Nob Hill, and I can just.
Dude, the Northwest area, a friend of mine lives over there, and every time I go visit her, she's just like, want to get some lunch? I'm like, oh yeah, there's like 9 restaurants in a walking distance. I'm like, oh fuck.
There's Burmese 2 blocks from my Airbnb right now.
Yeah.
And, like, I would murder people to have some tea leaf salad.
Yeah.
Well, shit, I guess we should get this out of the way, man. I wrote down an intro. You already heard it, and I think it was mostly cool, but I'm going to read it off the page, and we'll just go from there. Welcome to this episode of No More Strangers, the podcast I'm sort of using as my open love letter to humanity, and it's an exploration of the unique elements that each of us brings forth in our lives while finding the common threads which connect all of us through conversation. To me, it's a really important thing to have conversations with people, and it helps bring us all a little bit more understanding. I guess to my audience of 12, today I'm joined by Stephen Parker. Stephen is a key figure in the Portland metal community. He's toured internationally, sharing the stage with bands like Batushka and Cannibal Corpse, while developing his own distinctive musical style and sound. He's a trained audio engineer, balances his creativity with his professional career as a software developer. His music confronts themes of life and death, expressed through poetic lyrical construction and emotionally powerful instrumentation. Today we will discuss his journey, his influences, and the experiences which have shaped his art, his beliefs, and his views on reality. As sort of a personal note, and as a major metal fan, I'm really excited to dive into the roots of your passion for this art and how you choose to tackle what I personally believe are some of life's most powerful truths. Is there anything you'd like to add to that before we just kind of dig into conversation?
No, that was great. Yeah, no, that all-encompassing my entire existence explained in like one paragraph.
Oh shit, and I've only known you briefly.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
No,
didn't mean to summarize your entire
it's
existence.
okay.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to get us started just like, Stephen, who are you? Like, what was your early life? How did you become the person that I met technically a couple of years ago, but really like yesterday?
Yeah. That's a good question. So I grew up here, so in the Pacific Northwest, which I think influenced a lot of where my music went and where all of our bands went. But yeah, I had a pretty, I don't know, relatively straightforward upbringing, I would say. Pretty Christian.
Okay.
Yeah, which, you know, I have my own thoughts on, but it's pretty Christian and like pretty, when I hit a rebellious phase, right?
Yeah.
Started exploring more heavier kinds of music. My brother exposed me to a lot. I was listening to a lot of like Zeppelin and a lot of like BB King, trying to get into guitar more just from like a technical perspective. And then my brother was like, you should listen to Cradle of Filth. And I was like, what's this?
I think that's called Whiplash.
yeah, Zeppelin to Filth. But it was, I don't know, it was really eye-opening where I was like, I wasn't fully sold on that band at that time.
Yeah.
For sure. But yeah. And then just spent many years playing guitar. And then once I realized that I could just write my own music, then I spent far more time writing music than even quote unquote practicing.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't sit down and drill scales. I would be like, why don't I just write a riff that's fast and hard to play? Then I'm kind of increasing my skill while also composing.
And starting with like BB King, I mean,
Yeah.
you're probably going to get your chops pretty quickly. Like I always saw that as being sort of fairly technical.
Yeah, especially from a blues perspective for sure,
Yeah.
because it's a very different world, and a lot of like early rock and metal bands are very rooted in blues, which I wasn't really familiar with at all. Like my dad didn't really listen to that. He listened to a lot of like Zeppelin and AC/DC and those kind of classic rock bands, but I got some anthology like BB King tab book, and I was like, all right, I'm just gonna start like pounding through this. And honestly, I didn't get super far before I started getting exposed to like heavier kinds of music, and I was like, oh, this is tight. I just want to play faster.
Yeah. What? So you mentioned like at first when you heard Cradle of Filth, like it didn't really jive with where you were. Was it because of Danny's vocals?
Yeah,
I mean that's a big deal
I think
for people.
almost instantly it was because of the vocals. I've always been a fan of more orchestral music, so like that was very appealing. I'd never really heard other bands do more symphonic based metal, which was obviously popular at the time, but I just wasn't exposed to it. But his vocals for sure kind of threw me off. I was like, I don't need to listen to this guy screech for an hour.
I'm remembering like the first time I heard Midian.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what to do with that sound that he was making. And now I can't get enough of it.
Sure.
Like
yeah.
you jump forward to like Nymphetamine. And and I'm like, this now it makes sense what he was doing.
For sure. It's very, very different. There's a lot of musicality to it.
Yeah.
And I don't think I realized that at the time. Sometimes it like really fits where he's like shrieking in a tone that's the same as what the female vocals are doing or what the keyboards are doing. And you're like, oh, that harmonizes really nicely.
Yeah.
Like, weird. I didn't expect this.
Yeah. I remember like as a kid, my brother and I were way into the Master of Puppets release from Metallica. And sitting on the bus, other kids were like, oh, they're nothing. This isn't hard, because Guns N' Roses was swearing in their songs and Master of Puppets barely. Like, you can't listen to Metallica.
Don't listen
Guns N'
to
Roses
Metallica.
is so much harder.
No,
that's
ridiculous. Master of Puppets is like a perfect album.
Literally.
And it's so fast sometimes.
Yeah.
It's so fast, it's so heavy. And yeah, I love that record.
Yeah, oh my God. I feel like everybody should. I can't force that.
Yeah, no.
And this is probably far too esoteric for most people, and I don't care because this is awesome. Sort of on that, going from picking up the guitar and starting to learn how to write your own music, I mean, at some point you have to start considering the art of it, right? And then who are you creating it for, and how much do you care if other people love it or not? Because it's not like you chose the most accessible of genres to work in.
That's a great point. That is a good question, which I have thought about extensively because working in engineering bands that are working on albums, any of them, no matter the metal genre, because that's usually who I work with, they almost always bring up this idea of like, if I'm producing a record, they're kind of getting my input. It's not like they strictly ask, do you think people are going to like this? But they're like, am I making the right decision? Is this riff good? And I'm like, it's always nice to wonder if they're questioning it because it's they're genuinely unsure about whether a riff fits in a song or a section fits in a song, or are they doing it because they're not sure if anybody will like it? But if you're writing music for other people, that's totally fine, as long, in my mind, as long as your intent is that and you're okay with it, right? I'm not in that camp. Like, frankly, like, I couldn't care less. When I was much younger, I think I valued people's opinion. I leaned a little too hard on people's opinion from like a show and live perspective, but I really didn't give a damn if they didn't listen to my album. I wanted them to be impressed by our live sets.
Yeah.
You make a good point. That's reasonable. But I genuinely don't care. Like,
Well, especially as like sort of a starting out metal band, I think the only opportunity you have for anybody to even know that you exist is for them to see you opening up for somebody that they actually care about. Right?
Totally.
And I always, like last night, I felt kind of bad for Pliny, even though they're fantastic
Great band,
live.
yeah.
Only like 10% of the audience was there to see that.
Sure. And what's crazy is that they're like popular.
Yeah.
You know?
I
Like,
always forget that Pliny is popular.
and then he's got a plug-in through Neural DSP and Quad Cortex. Like, he's a big part of that crew. And so I'm like, not only are they like popular with like the virtuoso crowd and like the guitar fans, but they're just like popular. And so then it starts to expand on that idea and almost like, not the depression, but a bit of like the depression of it, where you're like, damn, this guy's popular and only 5 or 10% of these people are here to see them. The other 90 to 95 are here to see Animals as Leaders.
And
Like,
even
which-
then, they're not even there to see Animals as leaders. They're there to see Tosin.
Oh, yeah.
Like, Tosin has cultivated this beautiful cult of
What's crazy is
personality.
that Kyle and I were talking about last night that I remember when Javier Reyes joined the band. Because, dude, he's so good. Because, like, you know, I saw them, I want to say once when they had, maybe I'm remembering it incorrectly, but I believe they did a couple tours where they had a bassist and Tosin playing guitar, but maybe I'm misremembering it, like way back in the day. And then when Javier joined the band, I was like, that's cool, a rhythm guitarist, right? I was like, okay, he's got to be good to be in this band, but whatever.
Right.
And then you see him play and you're like, oh, damn, he's just as good as Tosin in different ways too.
Yeah.
He's got a lot more of that kind of like classical, almost like finger style, you know.
Almost, I mean, not to
almost
to
flamenco,
cast.
too.
I was going to say
Yeah.
flamenco.
No, totally. Some
Very
of his-
much Spanish guitar.
Some of his solo stuff is for sure like flamenco style, and that's great. But
What was
when
the
you see him play-
song that he was the one that had put it together?
Oh, I can't
It wasn't
remember.
Lippin Court.
The one
it
with the
was-
acoustic? I
Oh, it's
can't remember the
beautiful.
name.
I never knew that was his,
Also,
but
that's-
then when he says it, it's like, oh, this tracks with his style.
Yes. Even the heavier songs that he mostly pens, like the second to last track on Joy Emotion, I can't remember the name of it, but that one is I think all composed by him. And it's very chunky and like it's heavier.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was for sure fascinated by like how he plays guitar, and then I'm like, damn dude, you're like following up Tosin over there.
Yeah.
Like, that's hard. And then the drummer, of course. But yeah, it's
Yeah, the drummer's nuts.
when you play heavier types of genres, you can only appeal to a certain amount of people. But that being said, heavy music, I think, has never been more popular than it is now.
You were around for the new metal era, right?
Yeah, okay, fair point. Let's say more the extreme genres.
Okay, that's fair.
Death metal and black metal has never been more
100%.
popular. Behemoth will sell out like a 5,000 person venue. Like,
Yeah.
when's the last time a death metal band did that? Now that's in Europe, sure, but like,
And it's Behemoth, who's everybody gives a lot of crap to for being sort of
Totally.
sellout black metal, and I disagree with that assessment. But that's okay.
same with Demu or Cradle of Filth. Like, people want to harp on them, but you're like, that's a band. Like, it's
Yeah.
still, they do what they do. But yeah, Demu's a good one. They're like headlining Vakken to like 80,000 people. Like, this has never been a
Yeah.
better time to be a metal band. But then also, there are a lot of, there's so much like ability, so many options for release that you're flooded with options to listen to music. So it's almost harder because you're like, how do I push through that?
Which sort of brings it back to that early period before you really cared if anybody listened to your albums. And granted, it was in a different era. It wasn't the Spotify era. It wasn't Apple Music. But it was getting in front of a live crowd, and that was how people found out about you. When a show like Animals as Leaders and Pliny comes around, sells out, I don't know how big it was last night, 2,000 people, 1,800
Yeah, I
people.
think it's just under 2,000.
Yeah, like to me, that's a fairly...
Yeah,
we're talking about a fairly niche style of music.
No, that's a
within a
huge
niche
show.
style of music.
Yeah.
And
that's a good point.
And it was just those two. I harped on it a couple of times before the show, and then when we got there, I was like, seriously, Pliny's already playing, and the doors just opened. Mm-hmm. That they didn't bring anybody along or didn't have any local openers to showcase kind of threw me. Mm-hmm. Because that's, I mean, my experience of it was always, that's how you find the new bands. And that's probably how, again, we talked about this last night. Animals as Leaders was always like the opener before Veil of Maya, before the Faceless, a decade ago. Mm-hmm. And nobody knew who they were outside of that very cultish Sumerian Records audience. Mm-hmm. I am not talking smack. Animals as Leaders for the choice, but I'm just that things haven't continued in that direction.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I find that more management-driven tours is how I'll say it, like more successful, more like professional style tours often don't have local openers these days. I've noticed that too in other metal genres.
Yeah.
Like if it's like and part of it's a bill thing. Now last night was only 2 bands, so like that makes you question, of course, because we did say for the whole set, and Animals Leaders' set was not crazy long, but it was definitely a little bit longer than probably normal because they were playing the record and they came and their encore, I think, was 4 tracks, 3 or 4.
I saw that on the postings,
Yeah, and so it was cool, but I mean, what is that? Maybe 70 minutes, 75 at the most? That's not a crazy long set. And I kind of expect with only 2 bands that, like my band did a tour one time where it was just 2 bands, and then in some cities we did have local openers, but it wasn't all of them. Yeah. And the headliner did, I think, 75 or 80 minutes or something, and then we did 50.
Wow.
45.
I feel like Pliny, we probably only missed like 15 minutes of Pliny.
If
after
that.
we came in,
maybe
they
1 or
had
2
30
songs.
minutes to go.
Made that quip about the 30 minutes. So I think they probably only had a 40-minute set.
That's so fascinating.
It is because you put a lot of work into things, and they had a good set, and they had a great stage setup. Like they have the moon from their album cover, was pretty sick.
Yeah.
But all of that together is like, they go pretty hard for those 30 minutes or 40 minutes or whatever the opener is, and then I saw Behemoth open for Slayer and Lamb of God, and Behemoth only played 35 minutes. And now you think it's a huge band, but it's still
your opening
slot
for Slayer and Lamb of God.
Yeah, at like a big show. It was like a outdoor amphitheater and stuff.
Yeah.
So, but I was like, man, Behemoth playing 30 minutes, we would play like 5 songs. I think they only played 5 songs with an intro.
They probably closed with Conquer All because they're required to contractually, I'm sure.
Yeah. So it is interesting to see how younger bands lesser known bands are attached to tours or not.
Yeah. And I've read, I mean, clearly, the 2 of us have probably read a ton of material about how bands are growing through and how it's kind of interesting if you follow over time some of the bigger festival sets. You'll see people like in the morning on stage C on the Thursday, slowly moving themselves up into the Friday afternoon set to the Saturday pre-headline set over like 4 or 5. Yeah. And I'm assuming that's just a grind. You've played some of those festivals, I suspect.
Yeah. For sure. It's definitely a grind. One that comes to mind, because it was a very public display of it, would be Trivium. So like when they released Ascendancy, I think it was 2005. And then they played Download summer 2005. They were playing, and there's like videos of their whole set from that. And I remember watching it when I was younger, being like, damn, this is crazy. Those guys are going hard. These like little Floridian like metalcore dudes,
Yeah.
But they were playing like 2 p.m. It was on the main stage, but it was like really low in the bill. It was like 1 o'clock or something, and like they opened the main stage, and then now you fast forward, and they're not completely headlining, but they'll be like direct support to headliners. Oh, yeah. And I'm like, damn, that's crazy. And they got like fire, and their stuff is wild. Yeah.
And I mean, I want to say maybe a year after Ascendancy came out, they were touring. I'm probably going to mess this up, but I believe they were touring with In Flames at a fairly large tour.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like they were number 2. They were like 1B.
Yeah.
And that was within and that's for In Flames just post Clayman or maybe Reroute to Remain. Yeah. And they were at their peak
Sure.
as far as I can recall. And also, nobody that's listening to this has any clue what we're talking about.
okay.
And I'm okay.
But there's
with
a big crossover between melodic, like American metalcore and European melodeath, though.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that like a lot of the riffs from In Flames, honestly, if you threw Matt Heafy's vocals over it, you might not even know it's a different band because it's very like,
Anders is rolling over in his bed right now.
yeah. But the festival scene is pretty crazy over there, so you do have to grind and you do have to like get bigger as a band. The bigger your band gets, the better bills you'll get, the better money you'll get, the easier the tour is, the easier but it's still an insane amount of work.
Yeah. And it's funny, you're talking about the crossovers between melodeath and metalcore, or at least European or maybe even just Scandinavian melodeath,
yeah,
frankly, if we're going to be specific here. But there's this weird thing around genres, and not even just within metal. And you were mentioning the other day that you have some very pointed commentary on genres within music themselves. And I think it stemmed from, I saw, I guess we could call it an interview with, what was it, like Hard Times or Loudwire or something like that, where they asked you, it was like 2011, for like your top 10 albums of the year.
Yeah.
And I think your brother was dropping some fairly esoteric knowledge on the deep death metal side.
Yeah, death metal or like weird, obscure black metal.
Yeah, because you got to flex.
Yeah.
Like that's some cult flex.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
but at the same time, like yours included like Tyler the Creator and something Steve. It must have been Porcupine Tree back then, not just Steven Wilson's like solo stuff.
2011 for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even. What was that? That wasn't an Absentia. That was.
No, an Absentia was like 2005 or 6. But I've been listening to that record since then, so whatever.
And by the way, you did that for like a very metal focused.
For sure. It was like a death metal website.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's listen to this guy talk about Katy Perry. But the weird thing is like I find myself very inspired by a lot of music and inspired by a lot of death metal while I'm writing a death metal record, or like a lot of doom while I'm writing a lot of doom. But when I'm like deep in the throes of writing it, especially if it's a long time, I'm spending a long time on it, it gets kind of like creatively taxing to my brain to hear that over and over. Because like I'll be writing a lot of music, and then if I am working and I want to listen to music, when am I going to listen to more death metal? I just listen to death metal for 4 hours while writing something. So I often view it as like a palate cleanser.
Yeah.
So I like a lot of the like opposite. Like I know back then I was really, really into some more, I guess, ambient focused music too. Like for a long time, I've loved Oliver Arnold. So I don't know if you're familiar with.
You got me on that one.
Yeah, Icelandic composer, and I first heard his stuff that he did for a TV show called Broadchurch over on the BBC.
Yeah,
and I heard that score like million times before I even watched the series, because like I had heard the series was good, and then I watched the series and it was amazing, and I was like, oh, I should have watched this like way before. But it's very, very moody. It's incredibly sad. Like if you're familiar with Max Richter at all, I like his material a lot. Also another composer, but he's American or German, something. And it's just like I like having that juxtaposition between something much softer. Like give me some Tovlo or like some Aurora. Like give me some like moody pop, and then I'll go listen to some death metal or write some death metal on my own time. Now, does it directly inspire my music? No, usually not. Max Richter and Oliver Arnold's will.
I was going to say, you just released a fairly epic 15-minute Doom track that explicitly seems like it's calling back to some of these composers.
For sure. Definitely on those. But like does Katy Perry or Tyler the Creator or Bones, like do all these like hip hop people like inspire me? No. They inspire me to like be a creative human, but they don't inspire my music. But I've always felt that when I was younger, like in my teens, I for sure was kind of militant about what I listened to. Like we get very dogmatic, or at least some of us do. I know that I definitely did. I definitely did. For me, it was around black metal. Like death metal was kind of a later thing for me, but when I was getting into black metal, I just like wanted it most crazy, like insanely anti-religious. Just give me the longest songs, give me your moodiest like atmospheric black metal, and then that's like all I wanted to listen to.
Yeah.
But I was writing a lot of death metal at the time.
Yeah, and I always love the writing process. I mean, I'm not anywhere near the musician that you are, and I don't have anywhere near the devoted time to it, and I do have questions about that as well. But when it comes to I can't even ask questions about writing the music itself, but at least on the lyrical side of things, where do you find all that coming from? How do you find the words themselves coming to mind and making it to the...
That's a good question.
Because I think about that a lot. Usually for me, it's very inspired. Like the words just make sense.
Yeah.
But it helps more if I have music to help shape the structure.
For sure. I for sure 95% of the time I'd say I need music to write lyrics.
Yeah.
My brother's for sure a lyricist. So in our bands, like right now, he has the whole next like 1.5 releases for our band Paraphilia.
Already ready.
Yeah, because that's what he does, is write lyrics. But for me, like when I work with Maestus, like I need that music done first. And then I can me and Sarah can shape the lyrics around that. But I mean, generally, when I started that band with a previous member, Jared, we both had actually, pretty cliche, but we both went through like a pretty gnarly breakup at the time. And
hated suffering with metal, huh?
Yeah, huh,
even with pop, frankly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. And so he was teaching at a college here in Salem, and he'd come down and hang out, and he's just like exposing me to a lot more doom bands that I was unfamiliar with, like some of the 90s stuff from Catatonia, Anathema, My Dying Bride. Dude. And so I would be like, oh damn, this is great. I love this. Like let's do. And then he's like, you want to just write something that's similar to this? So the lyrical front, that was very much him early on when he was in the band. And when he wasn't in the band anymore, yeah, I just pull from those like depressing times, you know?
Yeah.
Just thinking of concepts or stories that are really screwed up, or like grief is a huge point for us. And just because the concept of grief can be felt in like, you know, an infinite amount of ways on an infinite amount of levels in each way. Yeah. And each person is different. So like if I figuratively gave the pen to Sarah and had her write a song about grief, it'd be completely different from what I would write, regardless of what her experience is.
Just because the flavors of grief that she's felt, totally. I don't want to say suffered, even though it is definitely a form of suffering.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's something I always find, though, there's this juxtaposition between the positive and the negative, I guess, as we want to describe them in this way, emotional states, because without having experienced the joy and the love, the grief isn't nearly as powerful, and vice versa. And I usually lean more towards the other side, like the most beautiful joy and most beautiful love that you can experience can't really have its own structure if you haven't suffered in at least equal amounts.
Yeah, and you really, if there are points of grief, I feel like you can only interpret another person's grief to the level at which you've experienced it. Like you can feel it for them, sure. Yeah. But like, for example, early pandemic times, Sarah lost somebody pretty close to her, really old friend. She had been a little distant from him, but for the most part, like he and his wife were there like in her formative years, teens, you know, yada, yada. So she lost him, and it was like obviously really heartbreaking. And I understood and like I empathized with her because I try to be, you know, an empathetic partner.
Yeah.
I try. And then
I hear that's useful.
Yeah. It'll get you far. And then Jared from Maestus, he passed away 2 years ago now. And it wasn't until he passed away that I legitimately, because like I don't think I had ever lost like a friend. I think I lost like grandparents and stuff, but like if they're like in their 80s and struggling with their health, it's not like super shocking. It's still sad, but you work through it in a completely different way than someone like you spend every day with, in and out, wrote music, you know, all that stuff. But until that happened, I like didn't genuinely understand like how she was even, I didn't come close to even understanding how she was feeling.
Sure.
So I think that drives a lot of our music, depending on the band. So like Maestus for sure is rooted in like sad stuff, grief, you know.
Bit.
Yeah.
Delorum is beautiful,
Thanks.
By the way. Not to, you know, be that guy gushing, but I put it on a lot when I need to balance or when I need to just feel into. I say a lot. It's only been 2 weeks, man.
Yeah. It's only been a couple of weeks, but people seem to like it. And like, it is hard releasing a single that is not only long, but like also it's like a doom single.
Yeah.
And then also people like publications, magazines, websites, whatever, they don't tend to actually care much about singles. That's just how they work.
I've wondered about that.
Yeah. They genuinely like, some don't even care about EPs. Like you need to release like a full length for them to like give you a review or an interview or whatever.
And
whatever. We're kind of shooting ourselves in the foot on one like promotional standpoint.
Yeah.
But it's like, who cares?
Right. It comes back to those earlier questions.
Yeah.
Right? Like, who are you releasing?
I don't write long form metal music for the masses. It's probably never going to catch on like on a mainstream level.
That seems. Yeah, it seems accurate. There's not as much demand. We were talking about Bellwitch earlier before we started this conversation. And it's like, yeah, that's a very niche audience, very niche market. But, you know, one of our mutual friends, Tice, is obsessed with the long form doom. And there's a market for that.
Yeah.
And also, it doubles down on exactly what you're saying about releasing it as a single versus releasing it as an album. They want that extreme long form of
now,
just darkness.
If we said this is a single, but it was like 30 or 40 minutes, right? Kind of like Bellwitch does. They're like, here's an 83-minute song. You're like, that's just the full
that's
album.
an album you didn't cut up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice try, fellas.
Yeah.
Love the try.
Yeah. Good job.
But something you're touching on there, and it's something that I really encounter a lot when I go to metal shows or even listen to the music. And there's kind of two parts here that I'm thinking about. Mental health is a lot more prominent in, at least in metal these days. It might be across the board. I'm not too sure, but you know, you listen to releases from like Throne, not even close to what you're doing. You know, it's Buster's sort of like almost hardcore adjacent.
Yeah, I would say that.
Work. Yeah. I guess if you don't want to make another Humanity's Last Breath or Viljarta release, you go make Throne. Or even Svalbard, if you're at all familiar with what she's doing. They're doubling down on recognizing their own emotional states and the difficulty of mental health. And when you go to these shows, last night we didn't talk to anybody because it was insanely impossible to.
Yeah, that was packed. That was
But
like
sometimes,
sardines.
oh my God, I can't. You know, my brother and I have a bad habit of always leaving shows early.
Oh, same.
Yeah.
I just hate traffic.
Oh my God. I could not have gotten an Uber back if I had waited till the end of that show.
For sure.
But on the mental health front, I'll talk to folks in the crowd between sets or any of that. And it's, maybe it's metal attracts it because of the themes, sort of like you were discussing, grief, or like with Throne, it's all about guilt, frankly, is what he seems to be singing about. Svalbard, she's singing a lot about just feeling inadequate and beaten down by depression or anxiety.
Yeah.
And when you talk to the folks in those audiences, there's a lot of really hurt people out there that are drawn to this. And I always wonder if doubling down in a genre that's highlighting the struggles that a lot of people go through and not a lot of people talk about still, there are there's a lot of stigma, tons of stigma. Is it reinforcing that within them, or is it helping them to process? And where does it go from there? I don't even know if that's a question.
That's a good question. It's more of
thinking on it a little.
Yeah, no, that's a great thought. I think that people will interpret the music however they need to and however it best fits them. Like, I've heard plenty of music that I didn't necessarily really care what they were talking about, or what the origins of the themes were, but I felt like it moved me or it helped me through a period, right? Like, we've all had that. I think it's good from a creative standpoint. It bothers me. The only thing that bothers me about people approaching subjects that I think are widely known or widely an issue, even in like politics, mental health, whatever it is simply if the lyrics are bad. Bothers me.
If it's a little trite or a little bit formulaic, I'm out.
Or like just mask it in some metaphors, guys. Come on. That's like, that's like middle school English. But
we can all write Lamb of God lyrics. Totally. I'm sorry. Sorry, Randy.
Yeah. No. I feel it. It's like sometimes you listen to bands and you're just like, really, guys? You couldn't have given that another hour. But yeah, I personally think it helps people, but I think that also depends on how they're interpreting or how they go about letting it affect them. For example, I remember this one time. There was a kid in my church when I was a younger kid who talked about Avenged Sevenfold. And I was not super familiar, right? And this guy then proceeds to tell me about how he's going to stop listening to them. Maybe this was a couple months later. And I was like, oh, that's weird. Why? Like, I was just some inquisitive little kid.
Yeah.
And he talks about how he feels like he wants to do bad things when he listens to Avenged Sevenfold. Yeah, the look that you just had in your face is exactly what I had.
Yeah, it was a quizzical look, by the way.
Like when he tells me this, I'm like, dude, what? That's like the least heavy music. It's not fast. It's not that aggressive. It's just like guitar noodly. I don't even know what their lyrics are about.
Was it Bat Country where he wanted to do all the drugs from a Hunter S. Thompson biopic?
I don't know, but like, come on, get out of your Christian shell and like just listen to the music. But why? It depends on how people let it affect them, right? Like if someone's listening to a record and let's say it has very depressing lyrics about mental health, about maybe suicidal ideation, like whatever it is, then if they're letting that into themselves, then I think it's probably not a positive thing, at least for that person. But I think it's positive to have art that's based around those subjects. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I absolutely agree.
It's like, it kind of sucks because if somebody is very affected by something and they're in a very precarious mental state and they feel more depressed after it, it's like, well, you probably shouldn't do that. But obviously the artist can never predict what that person's going to interpret it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, as you're saying that, I'm sort of reflecting on it a little bit because, and I've used the example of Svalbard a couple of times, and I listen to it and it's one of those, it's like, oh, okay, I've experienced this and I don't ever hear people talking about these sides of the mental health experience itself. And I'm like, okay, you know, I actually appreciate her coming out and singing about this because it's not to be like, oh, I need to be seen, but there's something fascinating about hearing a reflection of your experience in somebody else's lyrics that you can connect to. But then bringing it all the way back for me personally, like Nine Inch Nails' Pretty Hate Machine was a seminal album for my development in music and just listening and understanding to various outputs of, I don't know, juvenile angst and rage, right? Yeah. But also like the heartache that Trent Reznor was able to capture and the lyricism, the poetic lyricism that he leveraged there. And it always caught me. And now if I go back and listen to that record, I'm like, oh, I don't need to bring this feeling back into my life. I've already set that aside, but goddamn, Something I Can Never Have is a powerful ass track. And I don't need to listen to it anymore. Yeah. Because I'm past that in my life. But then if I hear the track by Throne that I'm thinking of here, where it's just like the depressive elements, and it's like, okay, this helps me reflect on who I am as a person. So it's positive, but it's also relatively self-reinforcing in a potentially negative way. So I try to, not as much as your friend and his departure from Avenged Sevenfold, which is, I can't judge it. Yeah, but I think it's fantastic. But,
I think it's pretty hilarious at best. But, you know, there's a lot of stigma around mental health. There's a lot of stigma around, it's an unspoken thing, I feel like, in a lot of metal communities, especially the ones that I've grown up in, that everybody's kind of like struggling with something. I mean, everybody in the world is, let's say that. But let's say on like in a niche way, everybody in like a metal community, let's say they're depressed or like they're feeling some angst or like they hate the government or whatever it is. Right?
There's a lot of that in metal.
There's a lot of that. But it's like, if you can go to a show and have that reprieve or like mosh or whatever you want to do, it's like, I think that's a very positive thing. Now, I think I tend to write darker lyrics, like darker themed lyrics, mostly for myself and our band, you know, and me and Sarah. And I think that that's good, but I think we're fortunate that nobody's taking those and being like, I feel depressed when I listen to this. Because while it's approached from like a depressive standpoint, it's also not necessarily like glorifying anything, or it's like, it's very draped in metaphor too. So it's like, you might not even know what the hell I'm talking about.
Oh, I've read your lyrics.
Yeah. It very much might just be like, oh, well, all right, let's talk about some trees and stuff.
Yeah.
But like maybe there's some sort of symbolism in there for myself or for the band, but someone else may not care or know. Yeah.
So for you then, it's catharsis? Is it a you working through the way you're feeling about, you name it, the death of one of your best friends on the planet? that you working through those feelings and trying to figure out how you actually feel with it or deal with it, or the creative output of the production of that art is a healing element for you on some level.
Yeah, I would say so, for sure. It's unique because I find that I draw inspiration from those times that were tough, or like I said, when Jared and I started the band, we admittedly wanted to write about, you know, our breakup without making it like, you know, some cliche pop punk lyrics, you know. It's like let's
We've
make
all
these,
heard it.
let's make these cool weird compositions. Let's make the rhythm of the lyrics weird, whatever. Let's make them as unique as we can.
Yeah.
So we did that for our demo, and then we did that for our full length. And then Jared moved to Australia to pursue his PhD. So he spent a lot of time in Australia and India doing that. But when he left, it's kind of like, okay, whatever. Then I met my partner Sarah, and she took over keyboards when Jared left.
Cool.
So that's like, we met a little bit before that happened, and then she tried out, and then, you know, the rest is history. But you know, the first full length we did with her was kind of a unique process, because it was almost like I was in a pretty good place.
Yeah,
like,
I was
because
thinking
it's like
if you're
I had a good partner.
You're
like,
playing
we
in a
were-
band with a partner and you're singing depressive
Exactly.
lyrics, like that's got to feel a little bit. There's
So
a
it's like-
juxtaposition there.
Yeah,
There's
definitely. And I did
dissonance.
Yeah, there was a dissonance for sure, but almost in a way that was good, where I was more so being creative from like a story standpoint, where like it was more of like a, I don't know, a third party telling of a story that someone had told, you know, like it wasn't exactly a personal reference, but I did find myself questioning that, where I'm like, this is weird. Like, I'm in a great place, and
Is
like
this
doesn't feel
authentic?
this doesn't feel depressive. So, you know, I would lean on both Sarah and my brother to kind of like help me out with some of the lyrics on that record, just because it was like, well, what are we gonna do? And I think Sarah helped me with a lot of them. But then, you know, Jared passed a couple of years ago now, and the track that we just put out, Delorum, was like purely inspired by that, you know, because it heavily affected me, and my brother were obviously super close with him. There's a line in the lyric where we say rain-washed sky. And actually, so no one really knows this because it's a deep dive, but actually that was like a in progress black metal band that Jared and my brother had, was called Rain-Washed Sky. Because, you know, from the Pacific Northwest, it's obviously there's rain everywhere.
It's topical.
It's topical, but I was just like, dude, this is perfect for this song. It's perfect for this line. Like, now it's kind of cool because there's this homage where we're using his band name after he passed. And yeah, so that definitely inspired that a lot. But I think there are times where I have to just kind of step outside of myself if I'm not necessarily going through anything gnarly or difficult, or if I can't really drum up that feeling, because like we've all had the past that sucks, or periods in our past that suck, that you can kind of call back and be like, oh yeah, that was terrible, I don't want to relive that, and use it as inspiration. But a lot of the time it's like, well, if there's none of that going on, let's just kind of talk about it from like a creative almost like a creative story.
Yeah, it seems like a creative writing project. I mean, I'm not saying you should do this, but I mean, at that point, why not just go write a Sabaton record? If we're gonna,
yeah, make it very topical.
Yeah.
let's talk one thing, or
I
a
mean-
monomarth.
yeah, oh my God, yes, forever. Yeah, and
Forever.
it's, I mean, not.
How's that man not tired of that?
I don't know. I love that you can always spot the guys in the crowd that you know are wearing the Amon shirts.
Oh yeah, big burly looking dudes.
Big old beards. Those
Yeah.
dudes are. I love that they exist.
And then you're like, man, you've been wearing that shirt for 20 years.
Yeah, literally, it's attached to their, the hair in their chest has grown through the weave of the fabric. It's kind of a beautiful thing. Yeah, and I was actually thinking about that because you are as far as I'm experiencing from getting to know you, like you are in a really good place.
Yeah.
So do you consider branching out from metal, or is that not an interest?
It's been an interest for years. I've tried it. Like, I have plenty of directories on my computer that say like, you know, folk, or like new folk project, or new like rock project, that I was just like, oh, let's see what kind of other genres. And like, I've toyed around with it, but I tend to let my intuition kind of run that.
Yeah.
If it really came together, like, I have this friend, she lives in Washington now, named Jen, and she's like an amazing drummer, and she really gets music. She's got a master's also in like folklore.
Oh God, like an MFA. Wow.
Yeah, and so I'm like, okay, you've got a lot of. She's great at storytelling. Like she writes for a living and like edits stuff. And I'm like, dude, this is gonna be sick. So we've actually tried for years to get something going, and we had a couple of demos here and there. I moved, she moved. It just kind of like, and so there got to a point where we were on a FaceTime call semi recently, a couple months ago, where I was like, listen. This is just like not working out, not in like a negative way. She's just busy with life. She just bought a house in Blaine, which is basically in Canada. And so like, it's, you know, it's distant. Letting that intuition come in. And if there are pieces of music that really start to click, they start to go. And then we're like, oh, we got fucking momentum here. Then it's like, it's great. Then I think you should follow that. And I haven't really felt that with many other genres that I've tried to do. It's the same process. Like, I really wanted to write like an industrial record for a while. Because I was like, this would be super fun. I like a lot of industrial bands. I had just seen Rammstein for like the third time. And I was like, or a second time. And I was like, dude, I just want to write like a ridiculous industrial record. But it's just kind of like it didn't come together. I even put time into it. Same with doing genres that are outside of metal, folk. Sarah and I have tried writing some like electronic music. We have some of it stashed away somewhere, and we thought about revisiting that next year, just because like to have a palate cleanser, so to speak. You know? Yeah. But it just hasn't naturally happened.
Yeah.
So
it's funny. I mean, this is sort of a non sequitur, I guess. But the idea of palate cleansers. I used to volunteer at a brewery, and they were notorious for making sours and just big time farmhouse ales. And none of the brewers drank their own stuff anymore because they could only drink like these obscure pilsners or even just Bud Light. Because they were so deep in the weeds with their own creative process that they couldn't manage it. And it's the second time the whole palate cleanser element came up, and it seems like it's everywhere in the creative space. I have no idea what Stephen King reads for fun, but I'm doubting it's his horror or dark tower fantasy style constructions.
And I think there's also almost like a creative palate cleanser, or more like part of the creative process that I find really interesting is like, how do you have some sort of break from your creative process and be able to listen to it or read it or whatever, experience that art from like a third party perspective and not overanalyze it. Like, for example, audio engineering. That's really what's coming to mind. It's
I was thinking about that.
When I mix records, it's like, okay, that's cool, that's done. Let's say I get it done, I love it. And then I'm like, when I listen to the next couple of songs, like on Spotify, doesn't matter the band, I'll just be like, their kick drum's too loud. Or like, man, their guitars are EQ'd weird. Or like, their vocals are really dry. Like, it's like but how, it's been interesting to try to find, like, how do you experience it alike without kind of judging it from another creative's perspective. It's not even more judgment, I guess it's more observation, but sometimes that does take you out of it. Where like I'll listen to a record and I'm like, okay, let me just like feel the music, not like listen to its production. You know, like production value,
And it's because it's not necessarily that you want to go out there and judge or critique what they're doing, because this is their own creative expression.
Sure.
But at the same time, I would have done this differently.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was listening to an album just the other day where I was like, oh, I was listening to the new Blood Incantation. And it's so good, but like, also, the mix is weird. It's like
weird.
The drums are super loud, the vocals are super loud. And I'm like, guys, this is a very guitar-driven band. Like, where are the guitars? Like, they're not inaudible, they're just less audible. And so I'm like, it's stuff like that where I feel that sometimes I have to take a step back and remind myself, like, okay, I can just like enjoy this or not enjoy it, whatever. But like, I'm not going to let that, I listen to like some obscure black metal. Like, I'm not going to let production ruin an experience. You know what I mean? Like,
it's obscure black metal.
Yes. Terrible production.
Poor production is usually like the highlight.
Yeah. That's another instrument in the band.
Yeah. I did work with a guy who was trying to do his own solo black metal project for a while. And it was fascinating because he wanted to have good production and he wanted to do wall of sound. And he could not make a black metal album out of that.
Yeah.
That's just not where it was at point. I mean,
and
the closest he got
really
there is
hard.
Old Man's Child.
Yeah. That's really difficult in general, honestly. Like, I started mixing this song for a musician here, and it was just the other day, one man black metal band, and he kind of wants a little more like modern of a tone, and usually it's like pretty raw, and he has really well recorded stuff, so like should be pretty easy to do. But yeah, there are very few black metal bands that can pull off that kind of like, oh my god, there's like 8 guitar tracks and like there's keyboards and there's an insane amount of drums and vocals and like it's all going at once, but you still have clarity, but you still have intensity. Yeah, that's hard to do.
And the first thing I think of when I think about that these days is Black Braid,
Mm-hmm.
where he killed it.
Their production's pretty lush. I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Black Braid. There's a band, I don't remember exactly where they're from, called Oculus. They're like
I don't know them.
I think they're a 2-man band.
Are you showing off? I don't know these guys.
No, but they're really good. I even watched a deep dive with their audio engineer when he mixed it, and I was like, oh my god, it's like 19 guitar tracks. There's like a million drums. I'm like, this is a crazy mess. Like, how did this guy get it to sound good? But he did. It sounds amazing, and I'm like, wow, what an art. But yeah, I'll send you something. It's good.
Please do.
It's really good. Dense, like in a good way.
I guess post it to our group chat. Like,
yeah, totally.
At least a few of us will like it, I'm sure. Part of that, I guess this is sort of an interesting segue there. Like, you know, obviously it seems like most of your interests are aligned with the music, but how do you balance that with having a career in corporate America and software development? And we don't have to talk about like the specifics of the work.
Sure.
But how do you maintain that balance and those boundaries?
That's a good question. Well, part of the reason I actually wanted to get into it, software in general, not only because I had an interest, but like partially because of my audio engineering schooling. Because like I had to just kind of get good with, you know, debugging weird stuff on computers. I used Pro Tools back in the day, which was like really amazing if you had a very capable computer. So if you didn't,
you were using Reason, if not.
Yeah, and if you didn't, and then like Jared used Reason, and like that was a whole other world to me, and I'm like, what is this? And you know, so it's like you have to debug a lot of stuff, you got to figure out a lot of stuff. So I get into tech, and I also just wanted something that was very malleable to my schedules, because at the time I was touring a lot, and I was like, man, I just need something that it's probably remote, you know, like at least has a better option to be remote.
There's capacity for it.
Correct,
You're not
correct.
like a line cook.
Totally. I'm not something that's like fully in person usually. And, you know, I find that it doesn't, at our job, having the flexibility of keeping that openness, I think has helped. Even with a client that I'm currently working with, someone from that company hit me up and was like, oh, here you're in like a band. And turns out he's also into heavier music.
Yeah.
And so there
are dozens of us, Steve.
Yes, dozens. Yeah, and the thousands of people, there's dozens. But like, I don't know. I don't find it to be too difficult because the worlds rarely clash and they really rarely cross paths. Like, for example, there may be a tour that I do maybe in the spring. Mm-hmm. If I do that, there's very few people from our company that will know that that's why I'm taking time off. You know, like very few I'm going to be like, hey, we'll be in your city. You should come. Because I'm not going to be like, hey, everybody at our company, come to every show in this country. No, that's a mess. I also don't need to explain why I have harsh vocals to people who don't listen to metal. You know what I mean? Like, it's
so much fun to sing that way though.
It is, but like, what are you gonna, I'm not going to have just like even my dad still does that sometimes when he comes to shows. He's like, oh yeah, maybe you should sing some more. I'm like, cool. Thanks, Dad.
Yeah, it's good feedback.
Yeah. But what really kills me is the technology. And what I mean by that is I spend a lot of time on my computer.
Yes.
Right. So as a software engineer, doing a lot that throughout the day, I would say the majority of the day. And then afterwards, if I'm going to work on music, most of how I generate ideas is on a computer, right? Like I have a particular writing process that I generally follow, and eventually that hits my computer. And so it's just like, that's the only thing that I think can be a struggle sometimes, is like, man, I just don't really want to do that. But also I'm very creatively inspired right now. So it's like a double-edged sword where you're like, man, I don't want to just sit on my computer some more. But my partner and I talk about that almost weekly, where both of us, because our interests will be on a computer, or like, I also like to do photography. Oh, how do you edit those? Oh, on a computer.
It's weird. I guess it's all on a
Yeah.
No, I find the same. Any of my creative outlets at this point, writing, figuring out this podcast, anything I want to record, I'm back on the computer all night. I really don't want to do that anymore.
Yeah. It is a...
And it's finding the time.
Sure.
Like once you're back on the computer, what's to stop you from going back into the code base? Or I mean, that's a mental discipline.
Sure.
I'm aware and I'm not there yet.
What
But why would I not just go finish up some of tomorrow's work so I can get ahead?
What really helps me with that is my current client did supply me with a machine because they have pretty intense security. So that's pretty easy for me because at the end of the day, I can just like close that and then I use my computer for everything.
That's fair. I do the same. They're good.
But
they're
at the
right
same
next to each
time, at the same time, if they're in your space, if like, we released a feature relatively recently that like was kind of under the wire and there were a few bugs in the thing I wrote.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh crap. And so like, I kind of had to put some extra time in because of the situation. But more often than not, I'm like, nah, I'm good.
That's really cool.
9 to 5, right? That's cool. Have that covered. And then afterwards, I'm going to be creatively inspired if I am. And I also find that practicing, quote unquote, practicing writing is just as important, like if I waited till every time I was like clearly inspired, I probably wouldn't write that much. But often I'm like, well, I'm not that inspired, but I'll pick up my guitar and like mess around for a little while and just see what happens. Or I have an idea, very loose idea in my head, and then I write it out.
There's something to that where what I've been trying to do, even if I'm not inspired, every morning, just sit down and write a few pages. I know it's sort of a trendy thing that people do, handwrite. Like I got my fancy pen and just sit down and take it takes 45 minutes, it turns out, for me to write 3 pages by hand with no topic in mind and just go.
That's cool.
And it's
a good exercise.
It's a really good exercise. It honestly helps with mental clarity. It helps to process anything that I'm processing through just as a human being on this crazy planet. And it becomes how do you say, almost a discipline that opens up that creative floodgate for later in the day or even in that moment.
Totally. Because if you can get rid of some of that mental overload or overflow, then you can free up for better things later in life, later in the day. I think that's great. I tend to do the same sometimes with software. Like if I'm running into a problem, I'll actually like handwrite it, whether in my little journal or like, just cause like I would need to conceptually do it.
That has never occurred to me. Go on.
Yeah, because it gets it out of my brain.
Yeah.
Because like as much as I love my partner and she gets tech on like some level, because she's always been kind of tech adjacent and her family was pretty like technologically oriented, she doesn't know the ins and outs of it. So I can rubber duck her all day and be like, let me talk about this thing. And she's like, that's tight. But there are times where I run into a problem where she's like, will throw out like, well, what if you did this? And I'm like, well, there's no, wait a second. I'm like, maybe that would work. Or maybe it sparks an idea for something else. Yeah. But sometimes I do have to write it out where I'm like, how is this even working? Like, I can't even find the bug. I don't even know where it is. Like, what's the call stack like? And I'm like, oh, okay. So it feels a little more tactile. So I do think there's something to that. Back in the day, I used to handwrite tabs all the time because I would be writing a riff and I'd be like, well, I don't want to forget it right now. And I don't have my computer on me because it's like use a desktop computer or whatever. And I would write that out. And I think that was nice and helpful. But yeah.
Damn. Handwriting it out. I even forgot about Tabulature. Wow.
Yeah.
It used to all be free online and now I think everybody's charging for it.
Yeah. It's kind of hard to find tabs that are, I think where they get you is that they've started paying people to transcribe. Yeah. So the songs are much, much better. Like they're pretty damn accurate. But yeah, you got to pay for them or pay some sort of subscription.
And by the way, I'm not saying you shouldn't.
Sure. But I get it. If you're just like want to figure out one riff or you're like, I want to record this goofy cover. It's like, I don't want to have to pay for that. But yeah, I live by Tablature actually still.
I was at again, going deep on metal lore that nobody is going to understand. I was at the Allegiant show in Austin a few months back.
Cool.
Hell yeah, so good. Yeah. And there was a guy at the merch booth who explicitly said, hey, do you have those bass tab books? Mm-hmm. And the Allegiant bassist had handwritten all of his tabs and published them in big stack books. And that stuff is, I don't know if it's dense.
Yeah.
Like he's doing some wild shit. We're out there paying 20, 40, 50 bucks of those. Yeah. I'm just like, hell yeah. Sort of golf clap.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
It is pretty cool. I think there's a sense of like sharing that with the world that is different than before. Like when I was younger, really only like huge bands had tab books. You know, Dream Theater, Metallica, AC/DC, that
Things
kind
people
of things.
can't figure out on their own.
Yeah, Avenged Sevenfold back in the day.
Yeah.
But then you fast forward and like I'm a big supporter. There's a company out of Canada called Sheet Happens. The guitarist that Protest the Hero started it. And he just knows so many people from touring and just over the years being like a guitar guy that he ended up licensing a lot of books. And so he's still going to this day and they're all so good, like such good quality, and he pays transcribers and they work with the artists. So like there's an Opeth one that I bought. There's a Nile one that I bought, right? Like random, but then they've got some Pliny stuff. They've got some Protest the Hero, Between the Buried and Me. You know, it's very like guitar driven.
I'm just really excited that there's a market for a Book of Nile tabulature.
It's like an anthology, so it's all 30 years of their like, yeah, it's
I mean, that's
great.
some deep cuts.
Oh yeah, for sure.
We've
Even
come
some
a long
songs
way
I was
from-
barely familiar with, and I consider myself a pretty big fan. And I
Yeah,
was
yeah.
like, what is this song? Like, I don't remember this from their demo or whatever. But yeah, it's great stuff. And I think that there is a market for that. Because I mean, I've paid like $30 for every one of those books.
Exactly.
But it's beneficial for like my guitar playing. Yeah, Devin Townsend did some stuff with them. That was really cool. Yeah, it's... I put out a one song tablature. I've never really released my tabs much publicly because like, I mean, usually they're kind of a mess, but we did one song for the Paraphilia album, and it was kind of funny because a certain person who plays bass from our work took it and recorded a cover of it.
Oh, that's
and
cool.
I was, whoa, that's crazy. Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah, that was super cool. But like the tabs, I just like sent them a PDF of the guitar and bass tabs for that.
Versus back in the day where we would have to go hunt down on Usenet for like ASCII handcrafted tabulature, and it was
Yeah.
50-50 if it was even accurate.
Oh my gosh. I totally kind of forgot when it was like text style like that.
It was
Damn.
wild.
Yeah, and it's like if it was chords, it'd be easy, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're trying to play some chorded, I don't know, City in Color or like something random like folk, you're like, that's pretty easy. But then, you know, it would always get offset. Like
That's
the
what I
lines,
was thinking
the
about.
lines wouldn't be
One
correct.
line
so
would be
you're
off
like-
because there's an extra
you're like,
carriage
"Wait,
return.
Where's the, is this a 10th fret or a 1 then it's 0? Like what is happening?
We'll find out the hard way.
Yeah. And I'm honestly not the most amazing person by ear. So like, unless I have like a individual guitar stem or something that I can listen to, that I can attach to pretty hard. But like, if it's all in a track, I'm like, man, my ear is terrible.
Oh man, I'm looking through what we've covered. Man, we've gone deep. One of the things I did want to dig in on a little bit, some of the fascination with death, some of the fascination with grief, and then you discussing your childhood in the Christian church, whichever church that was. God knows there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
Pun intended.
There's a lot of genres of church out there.
Yeah. Much like
What
metal.
subgenre is this?
Yeah. Oh, we're Episcopalian.
Here's my atmospheric Christian church.
Yeah, but not Icelandic atmospheric.
This
Big difference.
No. P&W.
No.
It's funny.
Yeah, but how has your conception of religion, faith, spirituality, how has that merged or grown? You mentioned early interest in very anti-Christian black metal bands.
Sure.
It's weird. I always thought that was kind of silly, and I even played music with an avowed Satanist who recognized how silly his quote-unquote religion was because it was technically an anti-religion.
Yeah.
And that self-awareness kind of made me like him more.
Yeah.
Just as a
He's
person.
like, that's ridiculous.
He's like,
man.
I know I'm being silly.
Sure.
And also sort of the rebellious nature of what he was trying to do. Where are you now, or how did you progress, or both? How do you...
That's a really good question.
You're welcome.
Catch me if I go on a tangent.
You're good. Let's go.
Basically, yeah, we were definitely raised Christian. We were raised in a way that was intended to be Christian, is how I'll phrase it, because my mom was definitely Christian. Turns out I'm not sure my dad really was. He kind of just was following like the family thing, the traditional American thing, whatever you want to call it. Because when they split, a decade ago or something, he very much explored different religions, Eastern religions, different like spiritualities and stuff. So when he did that, I was like, oh, so you just like haven't really cared about this for a long time.
Or Or maybe he did
Or maybe
care.
he did and it
and was
changed.
starting to explore.
Totally.
And I don't know anything about your
Sure,
family
no,
history.
but he's definitely opened up a lot. But, you know, we had an upbringing in the church, and that was, you know, it is what it is. My parents were very supportive of a lot of things. I skateboarded a lot. I was part of that crew. And that definitely has an air of rebellion to it, right? Everybody gets, you know, like, let's just go skate everywhere we can't and piss everybody off because that's like kind of part of your thing.
Yeah.
Then, you know, we're at the church, and I just remember seeing people play guitar, and I was like, oh, that seems fun. That seems cool. That was way before I played guitar. And then we started to get into guitar. We were still going to church. My brother started listening to some heavier music, like, you know, Slipknot, Korn, Rob Zombie. I don't think my brother actually got super into Korn, but like definitely Slipknot and Rob Zombie.
We all got into Korn, man.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
cool.
Yeah. Well, man, speaking
What?
of stuff, no, I'm just kidding.
You cannot deny.
No, definitely got into some Korn for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, he
Nice try.
tried to hide it. I tried to hide it. He definitely started listening to heavier music before I did, and then we started playing a band together. Mostly it was just us messing around, him on vocals, a friend on drums, old friend, and then myself on guitar. But even then, my parents were so understanding of where we were as teenagers. Like, sure, we were a bit rebellious, but I remember people at the church being like, how can you let them play heavier music?
The devil's music.
And to be fair, heavier, like we were barely playing like Metallica or like Black Sabbath, right? It wasn't heavy. It was like, to Christians, it's heavy, right? Doing Black Sabbath covers and stuff. And
That's fair.
And
I've been called out for doing Black Sabbath covers.
yeah. And so they're like, how do you guys deal with this? And both my parents were like, I mean, they're not off like doing meth.
Right.
Like, they're not destroying their lives. They're literally just playing music in our garage. Like, is it that big of a deal? Right. Then we started to listen to some more heavier music. One point I made earlier was with Cradle of Filth. One was Deicide, very anti-Christian.
They have, it's weird, it's in the name.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out where they're going with this.
Killing deities, I think, is where they're going with it. But
Killing God is what
very,
it is.
very anti-Christian death metal band. And when we started listening to that stuff, my parents were like, okay, like
Maybe we should take them aside.
Yeah, maybe we should like talk to them. And both my brother and I, we were kind of rebellious about it for sure. But we were just like, literally, just music. Like, if you see... I straight up told them, if you see my grades failing, like if you see my life falling apart, sure, step in. But like, until that, and I was kind of a pain in the ass kid for sure in middle school and high school. But same time, never failed anything. So I was like, listen, I got straight A's. I might just be like kind of a jerk sometimes.
Sure.
And I'm playing death metal, so like, who cares? Like, I'm not failing at least. And then so... my parents really were supportive of that. And then when we started to get more and more shows, my band had our old death metal band was called Arkham.
Yeah.
Reference to like H.P. Lovecraft and Batman, you know?
Why not have both? Yeah.
Yeah. And so we're like, okay, this is cool. And then they saw us at a show and they're like, oh, wow, like people are listening to this. This is cool. Like we, had a couple cool like opening spots. But then they really eased off, especially when they realized there was like no hope, so to speak, right? From a Christian perspective, they're like, we're not going to change these dudes' minds. Like Kenneth and Steven are 18 and 17 or whatever I was, 16.
Which means they're figuring it out.
Yeah, we're figuring it out. We don't even know what the hell's going on. We don't know what's going on with ourselves. We're just trying to play fast music, and then fast forward, we move out, and then like. Yeah, my mother's still religious, but my dad's not. Yeah. I don't think so anyway. And where I stand nowadays is like, I do think organized religion is basically the bane of our existence as humans.
Largely agree.
I do think that there's value in people exploring different spiritual opportunities in life, or like different spiritual perspectives. Because, like I said, my mom's religious, and at the end of the day, if she's not doing it if she's not harming anybody and it's making a positive impact on her life, like I used to be one of those people that I would just argue with Christians to the end of time.
You were one of those guys.
Oh, 100%. But then I started to realize, like, I really don't care what people do with their life.
Yeah.
Like, it's not mine. As long as you're not forcing it on me, like, what do I care? I definitely encountered Christian protesters at a show of ours once.
You made it.
Yeah, I was like, wow, that's crazy.
I mean, it's probably no Westboro Baptist, but let's go.
Yeah, it's not that crazy. And it was in Europe, which is like kind of surprising. But we were there with a band that definitely has, like, I would say some anti-religious undertones. It's maybe not like super evident, but they're a black metal band. And yeah, we were playing there. We go outside to go get something to eat. And I'm like, are they picketing our show? Like, that's crazy. What? I'm like,
What does that even feel like?
Google translating like their German signs. And I'm like, what does this mean? And then it's like, oh, it's something about how we're going to be saved by Christ or something. And I was like,
Okay, cool. They can be saved.
yeah, I'm like, do your thing. I'm not going to say they shouldn't even protest.
Yeah.
Because in their world, we're doing something nefarious. We're doing something blasphemous, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, whatever. Protest it. But also...
In a weird way, they probably actually care.
yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
taking their perspective, or their perspective, I should say, that's kind of... Thank you?
Yeah. I mean, on some level, there are people who can take a religious standpoint, and I think it is not the most negative thing on the planet. But I think a lot of the time I do feel pretty negatively just about most organized religions. And I phrase it that way for obvious reasons, because I think like the industry, the business of religion is ridiculous.
The monetization of spirituality really rubs me the wrong way.
Yeah, spirituality especially, like on a multitude of subjects.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. I've had a lot of experiences where, I don't know, intuition might seem a little bit too on the nose, or like coincidence might seem a little bit too on the nose, where, like, I'm not saying there's like a entity orchestrating anything in the sky, right? But like there might be some sort of collective thing that I don't know.
A structure or an architecture that's sort of laid out.
Totally.
And you call it what you want to call it. Yeah.
Like, I think I just often abhor communities that I don't really do well at the hypocritical thing, you know? And I don't think a lot of people do. I don't think that's a crazy sentiment, but it just really rubs me the wrong way. Whether it's like political hypocrisy, corporate hypocrisy, like whatever it is.
Any of the signaling, basically.
Yeah, I'm like, guys, do you not see that you're like, Monday you're saying this thing and the next day you agree to say the same thing, but like the thing that the other people said that you said was wrong? I'm like, what is happening? I feel like we're in a simulation sometimes just for that reason, you know, where I'm like, is this on repeat? Is this loop broken?
Seems likely sometimes.
Is this an infinite loop that like is just like breaking our call stack? Like, what's happening?
Yeah.
Like, I don't adhere to like any sort of religion, and my partner is definitely more spiritual than I am, for sure.
I've seen some of the art around the house.
Yeah, and I think it's been great for the past almost 10 years to have the exposure to that, where I'm like, oh, I didn't even like think about it from that perspective.
Yeah.
I have tried to, before Sarah, I did try to date a couple people who leaned a little bit more on like the organized Christian religion side of things, and it just didn't go well because it's so out of my purview, you know, it's so out of my thought process that I'm like, I don't think I could, you know, I don't think
you wouldn't have joined them in that. It would have been too antithetical with your
No, this is
approach to
not
the
like the
world.
50s where like, no, I'm just going to be like, well, I guess I'm a Christian now.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to start going to church because like my partner is just like, I don't care about any of that.
Yeah, that's fair.
Frankly.
That's fair. And I won't go off on a rant about the downfalls, or the pitfalls, I should say, around organization of religion and those structures, because I think it would just be a little echo chamber in here.
Well, and we're
But
also
just the control mechanisms that get put in place over people's lives and decision making really bother me.
Yeah.
Like humans, I always say this, like nobody here knows this, but I always say this, like humans are going to human. We're going to do human things, and we're going to make human mistakes.
yeah.
And it turns out that's okay.
Yeah.
Like we're going to do some messed up stuff in our lives. And that's part of it. Like, how else are we going to learn? We don't do well with learning from others' mistakes. We got to make them ourselves.
Yeah, the learning is a big thing. I think a lot of this world would benefit far more from learning from those experiences. Or like think about it from a perspective of there's so much context to like every decision, every feeling you have, every feeling another person has. There's so much context to like, why do they act that way? Why do they react this way? Like someone who meets my mom may not know why she still clings to religion. Personally, I barely know why she still does. Given the things that she's been through, I'm like, well, I would be very nihilistic and like wouldn't be Christian at all because it's like, if you think God did all that to you, that's crazy. You know, it's like, you shouldn't adhere to it. But I've just learned a lot over the years to try to be much more, I don't even think accepting is the word, but kind of accepting. Probably. Just that there's not, it's not such an easy answer as like this person is, you know, they're part of the Christian religion for this reason. They're part of another religion for this reason. You know, it's like there's so many different reasons, and if it doesn't affect me and they're not negatively impacting those around them,
and I'm sure that we both know people who've benefited from being definitely parts of some of these religions that we're kind of talking a little smack on, and I think that's okay because we have to be able to question and have these conversations, in my opinion, but I do know people whose lives have been thoroughly enriched. And this is not me pitching it on you, I swear to God.
No, 100%. I agree with that. I mean, my mom was one of those people. She went through some really hard stuff a decade ago, and like it really helped her feel like she has more like alignment. If she needs to tell me that she's praying for me, that's cool. That's whatever. Cool. Does it do anything for me? No.
But the community benefit as well. Absolutely. Like she has a built-in community of people who will presumably be there for her in a time of need. That I mean, we don't have a lot of that in this society right now.
No.
We're as splintered as I've seen.
It feels very segregated. Yeah. And I say that to mean all
explicitly.
Yeah.
We are explicitly segregated, and we're doing it to ourselves. Yeah. And it's one of those positives where I do see that. Okay, yes, some of the organization of religion self segregates, but at least they're together in it. It's a weird way to put it, I guess. I should think through that a little more before I say things like that.
No. I see what you mean. But it's the same. There's a philosophical, emotional, and like spiritual question that always comes up in my brain. It's like, when do you draw the line? And this might not be a can of worms to open, but my thought on it.
We got a few minutes.
Thought on it is just that there's never. Take a religion that has ideologies that you don't agree with. That's fine. They live their life.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's like, what if you don't want to directly give in to that, but also you still respect that they're humans and they have their own human rights. And I think that about a lot of like Middle Eastern religions, a lot of Asian religions, is because like I don't agree with 99% of their religion.
Yeah, just the ethos, frankly.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's like, should they be caught up in a genocide? No,
probably not.
Yeah, like, obviously not.
Yeah,
but then at the same time, it's like it's so weird because then there's that juxtaposition of like, oh, weird. I think women are humans, and I think they.
That's exactly where my head was going. Like the dehumanization of 51% of the world.
Yeah.
Or more. I don't even know what the ratio is right now. I'm probably way off.
Yeah, no, it's something like that. And then you're just like, what? Like, that's crazy.
How does that work? They were born from the same womb that you were.
Yeah. And I'm very, a little, you know, in my own world with the Pacific Northwest, because while we have our own problems, we are very accepting of people.
I've been walking around. There's some problems around here, man.
Sure. Yeah.
I got that methy that charged at me the other morning.
Nah, I live in the suburbs.
Yeah, all right. Here, they got to Ballard.
Yeah.
They'll get here.
That's true. So, I don't know. It's just, there's, my brother always took the lyrical writing early in our like music world, which is good because like if I would have been writing lyrics at that time, it would have just been like a bunch of anti-religious stuff. Yeah. And we went more like he was just very interested in astronomy and like the cosmos and stuff. Big like Sagan fan.
He went full blood incantation.
Pretty much like back in the day, he was just writing like a lot of very cosmic lyrics, still like brutal and like death metal, but it was like very like sci-fi based.
Yeah, well, you mentioned some H.P. Lovecraft references in there.
Yeah, H.P. Lovecraft.
Cosmic horror.
For sure. huge inspiration for him because
For everybody
we're
we're
like
talking to.
we don't want to come out and just make this, oh look, it's a gore grind album, or it's like a song about getting ripped apart. Like, that's cool. Bands have their moment with that, but it's whatever.
Yeah, I actually draw the line at gore grind. I just can't.
I draw the line. There's a few genres that like I don't do well with most like traditional hardcore. Just don't care.
I struggle with that.
I've
And a lot
tried-
of traditional deathcore too.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I mean, there's
The
some good
deathcore
stuff.
has to
but-
really like grab me. Some
Yeah.
does,
Some does.
some really doesn't. I mean, the same could be said for like a lot of black metal.
Yeah.
I think black metal is going to have a bit of a resurgence, in my opinion.
I feel like it already is.
I think it is, but I think that the types of black metal that are coming out right now are very palatable.
Yeah.
And I think there's going to be a time for like the wolves in the throne rooms, or like
Some of the post-black.
post-black
gaze.
metal, a little more black shoegaze kind of style,
Yeah.
a little more atmospheric.
More of that Icelandic atmospheric. We got some Alton and Mistburming.
Yeah, dude.
I never said that word properly, but I think I nailed it.
I don't know, man. I played a show with Alden once, and I was
Really? Wasteland
it
themselves.
was almost like too awkward to be like,
100%.
actually ask them about their name. I'm like, how do you actually say it? So we just talked like
I
normal
believe
humans.
it's Alton, but I'm
Yeah,
not
I think
sure.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Because
weird
they have
like
the thorn.
D with the like.
It's a thorn. I'm sorry. I installed the stupid Icelandic thing on my phone for my
nice.
keyboard just so I could write. Not a nerd.
Dude, metal problems.
Metal
You're
problems.
like, how do I spell this?
I can't type it. What's it off of? Oh, it's a thorn. Sorry.
No, that makes sense.
We digress.
But it's, I find a lot of positivity in trying to envelop myself in music, especially because it is the majority of my creative outlet.
Yeah.
Like I said, I like to do photography or like videos, but that's smaller in comparison.
I don't know, man. The video for Dolorum was pretty well integrating those three facets, I felt.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, we're just like, let's go on some hikes and film some cool stuff.
Yeah.
and
You're in the
it
right
a
place
video.
for it.
Yeah, that helps a lot. I mean, now I'm at the point where I'm like, why don't we just like get a bunch of footage, even if we don't technically have a video? Like, why don't we just get a bunch of footage and we just have it? If we want to make another visualizer, that's cool.
I tried to share that track Dolorum with my brother, and I made the mistake of sending him the YouTube video, and he has this knee-jerk response, and if and when he listens to this, he's going to laugh because it's true. Any band who has an album cover with mountains and forests and mist, he just won't listen to.
Yeah. I get
He's
that.
much more toward the positive party style of metal.
Sure,
Well,
sure.
I say that. He's just as into the rest of it, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. When we talked about doing like a real video, and then obviously like a real music video.
Yeah.
But the song lengths are ridiculous. Like, even if we wanted to put all the time, like,
A 15-minute video, the production alone is a nightmare, dude.
you don't want to watch. I made this joke the other day in our group chat about like, you're gonna watch me play like a 15-minute song, like a
No, I'm
guitar
not.
playthrough? No, I'm not
No.
even gonna watch that.
No.
Like, doing it for paraphilia is cool because it's like
Yes.
fast death metal. It's a 3-minute song, 4-minute
Yeah.
song, whatever. But like, nobody wants to see me play the same chord for 30 seconds because it's so slow. Like nobody does.
I'll watch one of our friends. What was the band he just put stuff out for? Never or something.
Oh yeah, I can't
I
remember.
feel bad, but it's a grindcore.
Yeah.
I will watch a 35-second drum playthrough on that
Oh,
and
yeah,
be
yeah, that's
totally
great.
happy, and it's going to be an amazing riff. Let's go.
Totally. 100%.
I'm not going to watch a
great.
guitar playthrough for 15 minutes.
No, dude, I'm
Sorry,
not going to watch that. I'm not going to watch that, and I'd have to edit it. But yeah,
Jake's going to kill me for not remembering the name. Whatever.
yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
There's, I find that the creative process though has opened up my brain to a lot of other things that I think spending so much time constructing songs, working with gear, working with technology, then kind of led me to software where I was like, I already like computers. Like, I'm relatively knowledgeable about this. Let's just kind of extend it and learn how they actually work and like how things work. But I think of things very much like there's a lot of crossover, right? Where you start to address problems the same way. Like when we bought a new mixer recently, and when Masus was rehearsing last month, we were just like running into an issue. And I had no idea what it was. I don't know what was going on. But like that kind of debugger sense
I was
in
gonna
me
say you have that.
nowadays where I'm just like, oh, let's just like walk through it and figure it out. And sure enough, 5 minutes later, we figured it out. Versus before, I might have just been like, what's going on? Like,
Yeah.
hands up. I guess I'll literally plug in everything and try it. But like now you kind of just have this
The
more.
nightmare of bug. Yeah.
Yeah.
And with no good logs. Anyway.
Yeah.
Well, I think we should probably wrap this up in a little bit. Anything else that's kind of on your mind? You mentioned you were going to be reworking some old Mistus tracks.
Yeah. So that's been a fun experience. So we did a record in 2015 with Jared. The record was mostly myself, our drummer, and Jared. My brother did a bass on a couple tracks, but I did the rest of the guitars and bass. And then it was all poorly mixed. I mixed it. I just didn't know what I was doing back then. This was a while ago. And yeah, so I feel like it never really got the proper like interpretation. My sister actually sang on that record too. And so we're taking two of the long pieces and I'm reimagining them and we're just going to re-record them.
Oh, okay.
For a full length that we're going to put out next year. Because next year will be 10 years since it came out. So I'm like, it's kind of like a cool way to pay an homage without just doing like a remix.
Yeah.
Because I don't really want to remix it. I just want to re-record it. But yeah, we're keeping Jared's vocals.
I was going to ask if you were going to keep that.
Yeah,
You have
so
the
I pulled
masters,
out
obviously.
all the stems and it's great. I mean, it's very eerie sometimes. Yeah. To where you're just like, well, this is weird. Like, because we played a click tracks and we played a stems when we rehearse.
Okay.
So it's just kind of like I'll be doing vocals and then Jared's vocals come in and I'm like, whoa,
Yeah.
that's crazy. But it's good, you know, and I talked to his sister about this project and I talked to his family and stuff. So they don't care about metal, but I wanted to make sure they were cool with it,
Yeah.
you know, out of
Because
respect.
it's their
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. 100%. And they were all on board. Well, they listened to it. Who knows?
Who knows? But it's a great,
'cause
it's
he
almost
has-
a good honoring of his memory.
Absolutely.
Frankly.
And
And
he
you're
has a-
doing it out of love. So
Definitely. And he has a very, very unique style. It's more like DSBM, kind of like shrieky black
I'll have to
metal
go back and
style.
listen to that.
Yeah, it's very kind of shrieky, and then I still do the growls.
Yeah.
So my brother did very little vocals on that record. I think he only did like maybe one line. So it was mostly Jared and I. And this time we're gonna I'm gonna re-record. My brother's gonna do more like layers, and it's been a fun experience to think about it. Like you've got a 20-minute song.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. How can we trim it so that it feels like it flows better? Like there's one riff in the song that I was like, this riff I've never felt like really fit.
Yeah.
It was just kind of there. I was like, let's just cut it out.
Yeah.
Like
we've all had songs like that. Even I have. Like
yeah, and now it's like you give an option to update it. You know, and no one's really heard that because we released that like to little to no promotion. You know, we were young as a band, so it's kind of a weird process for us. But it's gonna be cool, and it'll be full length.
Yeah.
So it'll be like, because there's a long song that's gonna probably be long, and then there's another one that's like the whole piece. It's split into 4 tracks.
Yeah.
But it's like a 4-parter. That one's like 30 minutes, but we wrote it as 4 songs that are just kind of like part of the same concept.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is much easier to work on when you're like, technically the piece is 30 minutes, but it's 4 different songs. One's like 8 minutes, one's like 10, one's like 6, one's like 5. You know, so it all is kind of
Yeah, and you can
works
and you have a chance to even cut it down further if you so
yeah,
so
which
see
we
fit.
did. One part we were just like, this doesn't need to go twice, or this doesn't need to go to 4 times. And you know, getting Sarah's perspective on it is really unique because she wasn't involved in any of that. So she really listens to it as a third party. And she's going to contribute some keyboards for sure, but more like she's been really good in like a arrangement way where I'd be playing a riff or we're playing a song together and she's like, this riff just keeps going. And I'm like, all right, like maybe that's something. Like she's not as familiar with this. Like if it starts to like, if there's no vocals there and it's just going and going, I'm like, maybe we should cut it. Sometimes we'll delete it. We'll try it again and see how it feels. And all of us were like, oh, that was so much better.
Yeah.
Like just clipping that one, because now it just flows. There's vocals right up into this part and then it changes. It's just like,
Yeah.
you know, human nature. Songs are still going to be long as hell.
Yeah, it's the nature of what you're doing.
Yeah, and we wanted to tell like a story. We wanted to tell like it to ebb and flow. But yeah, so my sister's going to do some more vocals because she was on one of those songs originally, and that's going to be cool.
That's
So,
awesome. Yeah, and it'll probably be 2025.
Yeah,
Looking
so
at
I think it'll be
calendar
probably around now is when we'll release it.
Okay.
We're recording it in like early spring
Very cool.
or late winter, early spring. Yeah.
Are you guys going to do any shows around it, or
I don't know. We've been like tossing back and forth the idea of live shows for a while now.
maybe just a couple spotlights or something locally,
Yeah, we probably will do like
or showcases? I
we'll
guess.
entertain that idea just because it's like it's been a while. Some of us are itching to play, but it's like it's so that's where we really get the crossover of our careers with our
I was wondering.
our music.
Yeah,
is
you had
like
mentioned.
our drummer does something at the USPS. My brother's an editor. You know, I told you Sarah's a therapist, so she's got her career. You know, it's like we all have our careers, so it is kind of a weirder point where we're like, well, maybe we don't necessarily have time, or even if we have flexible time, it's harder to take time off. Where we're like, oh, we're gonna go dip for 2 weeks and play some shows. It's like,
It really turns
we really
into,
care?
can we do a showcase locally in Portland, or
Totally.
do a weekend thing in Seattle?
yeah.
Or,
My brother's got another black metal band called Occult Blood, and they do tours like that because they have jobs and stuff. But they do like 4 days. They'll go down to California for 3 days and back, or like go up to Seattle and back. You know, and that seems to be doing really well for them because people know who they are and like they're getting out there. But it's not as much of a financial investment. It's not as much of a time investment. You know,
which makes sense.
yeah, I think that's probably Mace's next step, and we're just gonna keep it mostly in house. We're gonna do all the stuff ourselves, and
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it, man. Steven, thank you so much for sitting down with me and inviting me into your home.
yeah, of
Like, I
course.
freaking
no one's been here.
appreciate it, man. No one's been here, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, you know, it's been great, dude.
Yeah,
I'm
really
stoked on this.
appreciate it.
dude. Hell yeah.